Welcome to the Skin Bliss podcast, where we break down skincare with science, not hype.
Oh, wait, let's be real for a second. I spent, I'd say, about 2 hours last night doom scrolling through Reddit.
Oh boy.
Yeah, specifically the skincare addiction subreddits, and honestly, it is a total war zone out there.
I know exactly the places you mean. It gets incredibly intense.
It really does. It feels like there are these two warring factions. Like on one side, you have the, let's call it the tret cult.
Right.
These people are posting selfies with skin that looks like literal polished glass, calling Tretinoin the holy grail, claiming it, reversed their aging by a decade. It's almost religious.
The tret glow, it's a very, it's a seductive promise.
Exactly. But then you scroll down literally 1 inch and you see the casualties. The Tretinoin ruined my face posts. Angry, beet red skin, peeling in sheets, massive cystic breakouts. It's wild because there seems to be no middle ground. You're either glowing like a celestial being or you're suffering from chemical burns.
It is polarization at its finest. And it really highlights exactly why we needed to do this deep dive today.
Right, because when I opened the source packet for today, which is a series titled Retinoid Reality, I was expecting just another, how-to guide. Standard beauty advice. But this is actually more of an intervention, isn't it?
It is. We are looking at a stack of clinical sources and dermatologist breakdowns that really challenge the dogma of the industry's favorite child. The core argument here is fascinating. Tretinoin is the most studied well-aging ingredient in history, yes.
Right.
We have 50 years of data, but most studied does not mean universally effective.
And that is the mission for this deep dive. We are going to strip away the hype and figure out why this miracle cream fails for so many people. We need to help you figure out if you're purging, if you're breaking out, and this was the light bulb moment for me, if you are just using a product that your biology fundamentally rejects.
And that's a scary realization for people because there's a huge psychological element to tretinoin usage.
The sources call it the broken skin fallacy. Let's start there, because I've felt this. You buy the gold standard product, you use it, your face explodes, and you don't blame the cream. You blame your face.
Right. Users often feel that if they just push through the pain, they'll earn the glow. They think, my skin is defective, or I'm just not tough enough to handle the retinization process.
Like a test of will.
Exactly. But the source material highlights a really significant statistic regarding compliance. Now, in clinical settings, compliance just means, did the patient use the drug? But in the real world, compliance is a battle. The data shows that roughly 15 to 20% of tretinoin users drop out entirely. They just quit.
1 in 5 people. That is actually huge for something touted as a miracle drug.
It is. And it's usually due to persistent irritation that just never resolves. But here is where the expectation gap gets really wide. If you go to a dermatologist today and ask for tret, what timeline do they usually give you?
Usually. They say, give it 3 months. Like, stick with it for 12 weeks and you'll see the light.
Correct. That is the standard clinical advice. However, the source material points out a massive data conflict here. While acne might start clearing at 3 months, the research indicates that for meaningful structural anti-aging changes, we're talking collagen remodeling, fine line reduction.
The big stuff.
Right, the big stuff. The timeline for that is actually 9 to 12 months.
Whoa, wait. So the doctor says stick it out for 3 months, but the biology says you won't see the real anti-aging magic for a year.
Precisely. And that gap between the 3-month expectation and the 12-month reality is where people lose their minds. They are stuck in this valley of despair. They have all the side effects, the dryness, the peeling, the stinging, but they haven't hit the payoff yet.
That is a significantly longer commitment. That's essentially a year of your life hoping a cream works while your face hurts. I can't blame the 20% who quit.
I don't blame them either. And this brings us to the most confusing part of the tretinoin journey. The mantra everyone repeats. It gets worse before it gets better.
The infamous purge.
The purge. It's almost a rite of passage. But it is also a dangerous concept if it's misunderstood.
Well, this is where I need you to break down the mechanics, because I read through the purging versus breakouts checklist in the notes, and I realized I've probably misdiagnosed myself half a dozen times.
Yeah.
Mechanically, what is actually happening under the skin during a purge?
So to understand a purge, you have to understand a microcomedone.
A micro what?
A microcomedone. Think of it as a baby pimple, deep, deep under the skin surface. It hasn't become a whitehead or a blackhead yet. It's just a seed of congestion. Now, tretinoin works by hitting the fast-forward button on your skin's cell turnover.
Okay, so it speeds up the life cycle of the skin cells.
Drastically. So all those microcomedones that were going to surface slowly over the next 3 or 4 months, tretinoin forces them all to the surface at once.
So it's basically clearing the pipes.
Exactly. It is an accelerated cleanup. That is a purge. But, and this is the crucial part, the sources give us a very strict checklist to distinguish that pipe clearing from an actual adverse reaction. Because they look similar, but they are very different biological events.
Let's run through that checklist, because I think this is the save your skin part of the deep dive. The first criteria was location.
Right. Location is your first clue. If you are purging, the breakout should occur in areas where you normally break out.
So if I'm someone who always gets hormonal acne on my chin, and I start tretinoin and get a cluster of whiteheads on my chin?
That is likely a purge. You are accelerating the turnover of what was already there. However, if you are having a breakout, which in this context means an adverse reaction or irritation, it appears in new areas.
So if I have a forehead like a sheet of glass, never had a pimple there in my life, and suddenly I have deep cysts on my forehead.
That is a red alert. That is not a purge. That is irritation. Your skin barrier is freaking out, developing tiny cracks and letting bacteria in where it normally wouldn't. You are damaging the wall, not cleaning the pipes.
That is a huge distinction. Okay, what about criteria number 2? Duration.
A purge is temporary. It resolves within 6 to 8 weeks. The individual pimples should actually heal faster than your normal acne because remember, the skin cycle is sped up. But an adverse reaction breakout, that lasts beyond 8 weeks. And the nature of the acne is different. It tends to be deep, cystic, and inflamed.
So if you were 3 months in and you were still breaking out in deep cysts in new places?
Then stop. The source is very clear on this. If it has been 3+ months of purging, it is not purging. It is irritation. You are essentially giving yourself chemical burns over and over again.
That is the stop signal I think people need to hear. 3 months is the hard limit. If you're still suffering, it's time to pivot. But that pivot, it feels like quitting, doesn't it? It feels like you failed the skincare test.
And that is exactly why we need to change the framing. The source introduces this concept of the retinoid ladder. I love this visualization because it completely destigmatizes the idea of stepping down.
I love this too. It makes it feel less like tret or bust and more like a strategy game. Walk us through this ladder. What's at the bottom and what's at the top?
Imagine a ladder of potency. At the very bottom, the gentlest rung, you have the esters, things like retinal palmitate. Very weak, very gentle. Then you step up to retinal. This is what you see in most drugstore anti-aging products.
Right, the stuff on the shelf at Target.
Exactly. Then you climb up a rung to retinal, that's retinaldehyde with an A, then adapalene, then tretinoin, and at the very top, the strongest is tazarotene.
So tretinoin is near the top.
It is. It's very high up. And here is the key insight from our deep dive. The goal of skincare isn't to reach the top rung. The goal is to find the rung where your skin is happy.
Right. It's not a video game where you have to beat the final boss.
Precisely. Being on the top rung with inflamed, angry skin is infinitely worse for aging than being on a lower rung with healthy, functioning skin. Inflammation is pro-aging. It breaks down collagen. So by forcing tretinoin when your skin hates it, you are actively working against your anti-aging goals.
That is ironic and terrifying.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those middle rungs. If tretinoin is too much, which, as we established, it is for 20% of people, where should they go? The source highlights 3 really strong contenders. Let's start with the one getting all the hype right now.
Retinal.
Retinaldehyde. This is fascinating because it's all about conversion steps.
Okay, let's unpack the chemistry just a tiny bit for the listeners. Why does the conversion matter?
Think of it like a currency exchange. Your skin cells speak the language of retinoic acid. Tretinoin is pure retinoic acid. It doesn't need to be translated. It kicks the door down and starts working immediately.
Which is why it's so irritating. Exactly. It's a shock to the system. Now, retinol, the drugstore stuff, has to be converted twice. First to retinol, then to retinoic acid. It's a slow process. Retinaldehyde is the middle child. It is only one conversion step away from retinoic acid.
So it works faster than retinol.
Much faster. Some data suggests up to 11 times faster, but, and this is the kicker because it still requires that one conversion step, the release is more controlled. It typically has significantly less irritation than tretinoin. It's a sweet spot for many people.
I've heard a lot of buzz about retinol lately, so that makes sense. It's high efficiency without the chemical burn.
Yeah.
Now, what about adapalene? I know that used to be prescription only, and I always thought of it just as teenager acne cream.
That's how it was marketed for years as different. But adapalene is a fascinating molecule because it's a synthetic retinoid designed to be a sniper, not a shotgun.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Explain the shotgun versus the sniper.
Okay, so in your skin, you have these things called retinoic acid receptors, or RRs. There are 3 types: alpha, beta, and gamma. Tretinoin is a shotgun. It binds to all of them. It hits everything.
Which means it hits the anti-aging buttons, but also the irritation buttons.
Correct. Adapalene, however, is selective. It specifically targets the RAR gamma receptor. This is the receptor most involved in regulating cell growth and inflammation, but adapalene skips the others that often lead to excessive redness and peeling.
So you get the benefits of turnover without the collateral damage.
Exactly. It's also much more stable in sunlight. For someone struggling with adult acne who can't handle the fire of tretinoin, adapalene is often the perfect lateral move.
And then there's the third one, which isn't a retinoid at all, right? Azelaic acid. The sources call this the rising star.
I love azelaic acid. It's not a vitamin A derivative. It's a dicarboxylic acid found in grains. But it earns its place here because it targets similar issues: inflammation, pigmentation, congestion. But it does it differently.
How so?
It is a tyrosinase inhibitor, which is a fancy way of saying it stops your skin from overproducing pigment. So it's great for dark spots, but crucially, it is incredibly anti-inflammatory. In fact, it is the gold standard treatment for rosacea.
That is huge, because if you have rosacea, tretinoin is often a straight-up no-go zone.
Exactly. The source explicitly mentions that sensitive or rosacea-prone skin may never tolerate tretinoin, and that is acceptable. Azelaic acid offers a brightening, clearing alternative that doesn't burn the house down. It calms while it clears.
I really like that. It's about matching the ingredient to the issue, not forcing the issue to match the ingredient. Okay, so let's say there's a listener right now nodding along. They are 3 months in, their face hurts, they have cysts in new places, they realize, okay, I'm in the breakout zone, not the purge zone. What do they do right now? Tonight?
The protocol is very strict. Stop.
Just stop. Cold turkey.
Immediate cessation of the active ingredient. Do not power through. You need to enter what the source calls the repair phase.
Then what does that look like?
It looks like boring skincare, and I mean that in the best way. For 2 to 4 weeks, your routine should be nothing but barrier repair. We are talking ceramides, lipids, cholesterol, and gentle cleansers.
No actives.
Absolutely no actives, no exfoliating acids, no vitamin C, and definitely no retinoids.
That is so hard for people. When you have acne, your instinct is to attack it, to scrub it, to treat it. Doing nothing feels like surrendering.
It feels counterintuitive, yes. But you have to understand the biology. Your skin barrier, the lipid bilayer, is like a brick wall. It keeps bacteria out and moisture in. If tretinoin has blown a hole in that wall, applying more acne cream is just throwing gasoline on a fire. You cannot clear the acne until you fix the wall.
That makes sense. If the fortress walls are down, the invaders just keep walking in.
Exactly. So you spend a month rebuilding the wall with ceramides.
And how do you know when you're ready to try again? Is there a test?
There is a very simple test. Does water sting? If putting plain water or a basic bland moisturizer on your face stings or burns, your barrier is still compromised. Do not restart. Once your skin feels calm, plump, and boring, then you consider re-entry.
But you don't go back to the thing that hurt you.
No, you don't go back to the toxic X. You move down the ladder. You try retinol. You try adapalene. Or maybe you try azelaic acid. And you start slow, maybe twice a week.
It's funny looking at all this. It's like we treat our skin like a project to be managed or an enemy to be conquered. But this whole discussion is really about listening.
It is. It's about biological feedback.
So if we zoom out, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've got the ladder, we've got the checklist.
It means we need to redefine best. In the world of skincare, we are sold the idea that strongest equals best. We chase high percentages. But the source concludes with a powerful takeaway. The best retinoid is simply the one your skin can actually use consistently.
Consistency over intensity.
Every time. Using a gentle retinol every night for 5 years will yield far better results than using tretinoin for 3 months, quitting because your face fell off, and then doing nothing for a year. Long-term skin health is a marathon, not a sprint.
And there is no shame in stepping down the ladder. I think we need to say that louder.
Yeah.
Stepping down to adapalene or retinal isn't giving up. It's smart strategy.
Absolutely. It is listening to the data your body is providing. You are optimizing for your tissue, not for an internet trend.
You know, the expert commentary in the notes left us with a bit of a philosophical provocation at the end. We live in this more is more culture of beauty.
The burn it to earn it mentality.
Right. But if the industry is pushing potency like Tretinoin as the absolute gold standard, are we actually sacrificing our long-term skin health for the vanity of using the strongest product?
That is the scary thought. If inflammation is a driver of aging, which we know it is, then keeping your skin in a state of low-grade inflammation for years because you want to use the strongest cream might actually be aging you faster.
So the anti-aging cream becomes a pro-aging cream if you ignore your barrier.
Exactly. Perhaps the true anti-aging secret isn't in a tube at all. Perhaps it is simply the ability to listen to your body's rejection signals rather than fighting them. If your body says no and you force a yes, you usually pay for it.
Wow. Listen to your skin, folks. It's smarter than the marketing department. That is all we have time for on this deep dive into the retinoid reality. Whether you are Team Tret, Team Adapalene, or Team just give me some moisturizer, the goal is healthy skin, not a badge of honor.
Could have said it better.
Your skin, your rules. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you in the next deep dive.
That's it for today. If you want to check your own routine for ingredient clashes, build a personalized plan, or track your skin's progress, download Skin Bliss at skinbliss.app. See you next time.